Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. I am Satanic Sean Charles Baker.
I am anatomically correct, Anthony.
And I'm Ray the Buzz.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with the one we talked about earlier, the Raging Libido Ray.
Oh, well.
No? Okay. What's up, guys? Welcome to hell.
What's up, man?
Hey, good to be here.
It's been a minute. How you guys doing? Well, I know Anthony, you have a cold. Audience, it's good. He's not. He doesn't have Captain Trips, so that's been established. He's drinking some tea. What kind of tea you drinking there? Anatomically correct, Anthony.
This is CVS brand Theraflu. So I mean,
oh, I thought it was peyote. Damn.
Yeah, I wish.
So, guys, we have gathered together amidst the craziness of modern life and our crazy schedules, and we are going to talk about a major new release. I knew this was coming. I had no idea it was coming that fucking soon. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. This one, so it dropped Friday. Anthony alerted me to that. I had absolutely no idea it was coming that early. This was produced by Fede Alvarez, co-written by Fede Alvarez, directed by David Blue Garcia, who is not a first-time director, but had not. So he done Bloodfest in 2018, which is a movie I haven't seen. I've heard mixed things.
It's a shit fest.
Shit. So it's written by Fede Alvarez and Chris Thomas Devlin, who I'm unfamiliar with. Rodo Sayagis, apologies, sir. And then based on characters created by Toby Hooper and Kim Henkel, obviously. Netflix original movie. Guys, what'd you think? Let's go around. So first, let's just do a yay or nay, and then we'll go more in depth. But Ray, what'd you think, yay or nay?
I think yay.
Anthony, what'd you think, yay or nay?
Yay. Strong yay.
I would say yay as well. Surprised that I'm saying that based on where the movie started. But so who wants to go first? Let's talk about this fucker. Audience, we're going full fucking spoiler. If you haven't seen this shit and you want to, turn this shit off right now. Come back to us later. We're going to talk all about it. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of mixed feelings. You know, it's like the first time that your counselor at camp lays his hand on your thigh and you gaze into his eyes and you start thinking like, that's the wrong metaphor I wanted to use. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Welcome to group therapy.
Yeah, sorry. The therapy's been digging stuff up. Sorry. So, who wants to go first? What do you think?
Well, back to the camp counselor, I would just be wondering, is this your first time? Because I'm about to school you.
Oh, man. No, seriously, what do you think, Anthony?
I loved it. It was so much fun. Like, there's no way in hell you were going to expect something like as good as the original or on par as the second one. Mm-hmm. But as long as you can get a splatter fest that moves quickly enough, and that's another thing I liked about it. It was an hour and 30 flat. Yeah. There was no extra to it. They did very little as far as character development went. They threw in a bunch of tropes which you expected from the beginning and ran with it. Yeah, but it was a ton of fun. It really was. Like I was blown away by the nasty CG, not nasty CG. I'm sorry, nasty practical effects. There's a couple little bits of CG mixed in, but it blends so well. You really don't care at this point. Again, if you went into this movie expecting award-winning shit, like you're getting fucking wrong anyway.
Right.
So to expect a little bit of CG thrown in with the practicals and whatnot, I mean, it's just expected by this point.
Well, it was blended, like you said. So, I mean, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, the portrayal Leatherface, great. This is probably the first time you've seen him like as hulking and gigantic, because usually he's lumbering, but he's never like this huge giant menace. And this time he is.
He's not quite the monster that he usually is. He's depicted in this film.
Yeah, it's like Kane Hodder stepping into the Jason, role, where it's just like there's an immediate difference. You're like, holy fuck, this guy is just really
A
terrifying.
monster.
I think.
Yeah.
Exactly, a monster.
Yeah, it's Mark Burnham playing him. I'm not familiar with the other things I see on his IMDb page, but I thought he did a pretty damn good job, like you said, and that's a good comparison with the Kane Hodder.
I'll shut up for a second. Ray, jump on it, man. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, what to build on? I mean, I think the gore is excellent. It blew me away. Like there were so many moments where I was like, oh, wow, that was impressive. Like, I really enjoy. Like the gore is great. I don't, you're right. There is a very much of a lack of character development, but in this kind of thing, like they're not necessarily straying away from the tropes of these films, especially that first movie. And the genre, like they're giving you a little bit of who these people are and then calling it a day. There is a little, there's a little bit of like what's going on with this setup? Like this feels very overused. But I mean, there's things about it that I like too. Like I was, I was saying to Sean that like one of the things that I thought was pretty kind of smart in the setup was that they have this whole thing of like, it's these kids that are coming into this town that's become a ghost town. They're gonna buy it. They're gonna, they're pretty much gonna gentrify it, which sounds bizarre because the guy, the friend who's the lead, who is the one who's like the push as far as like, let's all go to this town and take it over and rebuild it and make it into our little oasis of greatness without all of the ugliness of the modern world, is black. But it still feels very gentrified in what they're going to do. Like they're going to show up, they're not going to have it be a very much of a central Texas town. It's going to be much more of this young hipstery place. And right away,
Austin Jr.
Yes, that's a good call. And right away, that like they're running into like the guy who's hired as the like I forget what the guy with the truck.
Who's their contractor who was going to like
the contractor?
work on all of,
the contractor who is a Texan, and he doesn't, and like he plainly tells like one of them like, well, I'm a Texan. I don't like to tell but being told what to do, and I don't especially like it coming from somebody who's not from Texas.
Yeah.
Like, and they're all, and like, I think one of the things that I thought was interesting about it was that as we discover, like one of the characters was involved in a mass shooting. So it feels like they're running from their own ghosts. They're running from their own like ugliness that they've encountered in our modern society, and thinking, oh, if I go to this new place, it'll be great and it'll be a new fresh start, and ignoring the fact that like they're going to some place that has already had its own bad period. I mean, it's an empty ghost town, which means that something happened in that town for it to end up this way. They're naive in not acknowledging it, and I think they're paying the price for their naivete. Plus, I mean, I kind of like the sister character, the one like who's kind of lead for most of the film, and like because she like. There's moments where she seems very cunty at the very beginning of the film.
You're talking about, you're not talking about the one that suffered the violence. You're talking about the older sister.
No,
right?
I'm talking about the older sister. But then you see like moments where she like that. I talked about it. Like there's that scene where like just before Leatherface is pretty much going to kill her, or one of the moments that he could possibly kill her, she literally apologizes to him for what happened involving his mother. Or the person she perceived to be his mother. And she's like, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to kill your mother. And you're like, wow. She acknowledges that like we showed up, we messed up, we kind of just invaded your place, acted like there was no one, there was not going to be anyone there, and we jacked up, and we should have been a lot more understanding, and we weren't. And we really came in like bulls in the china shop.
And to accentuate that point that you're making, I would add, she knows, she's not saying it for his benefit. She's saying it because she is generally haunted by it since the moment she finds out that woman died. It changes everything about her. She wants to leave. She doesn't want to leave because at that point she's not like, it's dangerous, I want to leave. She's like, I want to leave because we did this. I can't be here right now. So,
and she's upset. She's genuinely upset at that one guy because like, we didn't have the deed. You assumed we had the deed. We did not have the deed. We did something wrong. Like, we've already started our utopia in a bad place.
Yeah. I definitely, the two sisters are really the only redeeming characters. I thought that the younger sister, who's played by Elsie Fisher, who people would know as Joy, Annie Wilkes' daughter from the second season of Castle Rock, when they showed you first the bullet wound, just very briefly on her chest, that was like kind of obscured by her collar, and then you get the flashback of her laying in the school, like where the Texans. This guy's so fucking Texas. He pulls up. He's working on his car, or his truck. I mean, his pickup truck, and he's just like, laid his automatic weapon on the workbench just because that's apparently what you would do.
Where else do you leave your automatic weapon?
Good point. I usually just give it to my toddler and tell him to put it away. Worked out so far. So, but she says to him, and that's where they kind of have like a thing, right? So before that, he's the enemy to them and they're the enemy to him. And when she says, what about the school, and he knows what she's talking about, he's like, oh, it's got to be really hard to live with that. So that was I thought there was just enough character development with. You just needed that little bit because everybody else is basically fodder, right? And the whole thing with like, Ray and I were talking about this, Anthony, before we rolled. A large part of the shit talk, and I agree with it. Okay, like, where is this in the fucking like the timeline for this is so fucking ridiculous because it's like, is this a direct sequel to the first movie? And so here's the thing: you would think that based on it's modern, and we know it's modern because of social media and just various things. We know it's modern. They reference this. They bring John Larroquette back for the voiceover at the beginning. I thought they went a little bit like overboard with that. A little bit. It was good to hear him back, but they referenced Sally's whole incident with her friends in '73 or whatever it is. So by doing that, we now know that it has literally been the same amount of time has lapsed. So how is Leatherface not like on a fucking breather? Like, he should be geriatric at this point. And then where Fede Alvarez, when asked on Bloody Disgusting about where this falls in the timeline, he basically said, oh, my movie doesn't mean the other movies didn't happen. Which was, okay, it was very coy and probably smart to like not take a side in that argument, but it really like, okay, so where would any of them, like, when did this woman adopt him? When he was 50? Because the whole thing is she ran an orphanage and he was one of her charges. He's the last one. Everybody else left, and he's the one that could never re-enter the world, so she took care of. I mean, but if you look at this, so there shouldn't be any character development there, and if you look at it too much, it's going to make you hate the fucking movie. I when it started, the setup with the 520 somethings, barely likable, rolling into a town where they don't belong, disrespecting the locals. I was like, oh, because it's the setup of all of the fucking remakes, and I hate all of those. So, I mean, I hate every Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I've seen, except for the original and the second one. Everything else I've seen, not a fan. I wish Adam, Marcus, and Deborah Sullivan, they were just interviewed on Bloody Disgusting as well about the movie they wrote, and the guy that does the article, I forget, he really breaks down their script, but they talk about how what they wrote is no resemblance to that Texas Chainsaw 3D. I wish they had been able to make their movie. It was supposed to be the first direct sequel to Tobe Hooper's original. They didn't get to make it, whatever. But just a trope is so fucking
now, see,
tired.
that's funny because you mentioned that, and like the whole time, like without knowing, when I started watching it, and I got the thing of like, oh, okay, so he's Leatherface. He's been living with this woman for forever. That's why Sally was never able to find him, because she took him in and like basically tried to rehabilitate him the best she could. Because of that, I took this movie as, okay, this is a direct sequel to the original film. much like, you know, Halloween and a lot of other things have been like retconning and being like, okay,
Yeah.
remember all those other movies? Like, no, they didn't exist. This happened right after that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so that's the way I figured it. And I thought, okay, well, fine. I guess one of the advantages of that concept is that I understand the point you're making with Leatherface, but at the same time, we're never told exactly how old he is in that first one. So are we supposed to assume generally that he is definitely a man in his like 20s or 30s, or could he possibly be this big hulking like um emotionally disturbed teenager?
Yeah, right.
Like it's
So,
very possible. So I'm like, okay. And I kind of like felt like, okay, so those other things don't exist. The second and the third and everything else. That's why it's just him. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like, I mean, if it is like works as a direct sequel, I think I'm okay with that because
yeah, it
for
makes the
one,
most sense.
like the brother was run over by the truck, so he could just be dead. And it could have been very well that like only he got away, and like maybe the weird uncle went off somewhere on his own and buried the grandfather and like just called it a day on the whole family, and like they all just scattered to the wind after she got away.
Yeah.
That was something weird though that I was like, the whole thing where Sally shows up and is like, you're the last one, he wants you, there's no way he's not going to come for you, which gives him like this Halloween type Laurie Strode thing again. And you're like, what do you, I don't think that was necessarily the case in the first movie or any of the movies where it was like,
No.
oh no, he's not going to stop until he gets you because he's determined you're the last one.
Yeah, that didn't
Like,
make any sense because they also already established she didn't know who the fuck she was when she was standing there asking him to say my name. It's like, he doesn't know who the fuck you are. What did you guys think about? I want to very pointedly ask your opinions on what did you think about the whole idea of bringing Sally back as this badass ranger who ultimately is going to confront him? Let's talk about this a little bit. Anthony, what did you think about this?
Pointless. Absolutely pointless. The introduction to her character, even though I love that actress from Mandy, she's great. Just it was there were two hard eye roll moments for me in this movie, and that first introduction of her where they show like, you know, Sally's photograph morph into like geriatric Sally. I was like, why the fuck are they doing this, you know, Halloween Kills bullshit, which clearly has run its course and is just completely fucking ineffective now.
Doesn't mean they're gonna stop doing it.
I mean, it's the same thing with the latest Scream film. I haven't watched it, but I mean, they're bringing back all the legacy characters to, you know, either die or whatever. I don't give a shit about Scream, but yeah, just that her whole role was pointless. And then to have her show up and try to be, you know, the Ellen Ripley of the story. And the one thing I did like though about what you guys had mentioned about her keeping the girls in the back of the vehicle was I liked the idea that she was willing to use them for bait to get to him.
I did too. That was the only thing I liked about her presence. And other than that actress.
Yeah, but then once she goes like full Sarah Connor and does the shotgun cock and starts walking out, I was like, really? Seriously? But then that like completely gets spun on its head when he just fucking shoves the chainsaw through her gut. I'm like,
I was kind of happy about that.
It was hysterical. And then you see him raise her up. Oh, dude, I was like, this is good. And I'm glad that this wasn't going to be something where it's like, all right, let's do 3 more sequels and keep this old bitch in here to come back and try and hunt him down. Like, I just didn't care. I did like that she was crazy enough to live in his old house.
Yeah, I didn't catch that till you said that to me on the phone the other day. I did not catch that. So that was, wow. When you said that, was
that's
like, oh
just
my
like
God.
How nuts. Yeah, that's how nuts she was about, you know, the ordeal that happened to her back in the 70s was she actually went and bought the old home, which explains why he went back to the orphanage, because he had no home to go back to.
I mean, I get everything that's being said. I totally do, especially with that shot of like she's for some reason when she gets her phone call from the guy who's gonna let her know, like, hey, they found Leatherface in this town. He's pretty much massacring these kids. She's gutting a pig. Like, is this what she does on her daily basis? Like, as a retired law enforcement officer, she really gets out there and really gets her own bacon. Like she goes, I don't just raise the pig, I carve it myself. I make the links, I get the bacon.
Because weekends I start killing pigs at noon and you don't get to interrupt that.
Oink! But but yeah, so like you've got that, and you're like, oh, okay. So I thought where they were going with that, especially because of the whole thing with the pig. Like, okay, so she's got experience now with a knife, which that didn't pay off. I was like, okay, so like I thought they were going to do something where she was like, I'm going to get Leather and I'm going to carve him.
Well, she brought a knife to a chainsaw fight, you know.
Yeah, she did. She brought a knife to a chainsaw fight. She certainly did. But you've got that. You got the thing of like, she just does these missteps in that whole scene where she like shows up and is ready to shoot him with the shotgun. That I'm like, boy, if this is how you were as a law enforcement officer, how are you still alive?
Yeah.
Because wow, you're making bad mistakes. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, like that kind of gets me. And I guess the one thing that her character serves as is that after she's like pretty much gored and is dying, and she shoots Leather in the back, and he goes running into the theater to hide, and she looks at the girl and is like, "Don't let him get away; it'll haunt you." Which means that, like, I think that the character of Sally acknowledges that, like, it wasn't that he was ever standing around somewhere, like, waiting to take her out. She always thought he was.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was more important to her to stop him than it ever was that he was ever going to try and find her and kill her.
He's already forgotten her. Well, so that was my thing where like I was so fucking irritated when they're like, oh, whatever happened to Sally? Oh, she's a ranger now. I was like, oh, here we go with the fucking Ripley. Oh my God, really? Okay, because 2018 did it, so now we know why this movie got made. And I was so angry. And then even when it was over, it took me a while to realize, like, wait a minute. I think they did that to take the piss out of Halloween 2018 and the whole current trend of like bringing back these final girls as these Sarah Connor ultimate badasses, which I mean, that's always happened with recurring final girls and sequels. But like, I really felt like they were taking the piss out of Halloween 2018 because Halloween 2018, while I do like it, it'll never, we've talked about this before on here, like that initial reaction we did in Anthony's living room when we walked out of the theater opening night, and we were all kind of abuzz with it. Subsequent rewatches, it doesn't hold up quite so much. I dug kills. I know, I'm globally in a minority for that. That's fine. That's not the point. The point is, I really feel like that first movie, ultimately, Laurie Strode is a badass for no reason because she doesn't double, you know what I mean? Like she leaves with him in the fire, and it's not like they pull her out of the house. Like, so I feel like this movie was kind of like saying like, yeah, that was dumb. And so we're going to show you like our kind of caricature of that as she shows up. She's got him dead to fucking rights. Sally with Leatherface. He's sitting on the fucking bed. His chainsaw's not in his hand. He doesn't have his hammer. He doesn't have nothing. And she doesn't shoot him. And then she starts talking to him.
Yeah.
You remember me, say my name, all this shit. And it's like, bitch, fucking shoot him in the face. Like, what? Or at least start taking pieces off of him. Shoot him in the knee, something. Kill him slow. She does nothing. And then I don't even remember now, but like, how does he even like ends up getting past her to go like he basically forgets about her. He's like, you're not a threat. Yeah. I don't know you. I don't care.
He literally picks the chainsaw up, turns around and walks out.
And he goes after the other chick. So then when she confronts him and it's, oh, here's a confrontation that's going to round out the movie. And then he, like Anthony said, it's fantastic. And then I was a little upset with the way, like Ray said, then she gets the one shot in, because there were a couple points in this movie where it was very what do you call it, Deus Ex Machina, where a character who should have been dead wasn't dead only because the script needed him or her to get things going in a different direction. So like the scene with the main investor guy where like that dude should have been dead, but he ends up walking down the street anyway. Like, I'm like, wait, what? Because they needed that to happen to facilitate what came next. And the same with Leatherface would have killed the girl if it wasn't for that shot in the back that I almost called her Laurie Strode, that Sally came up with, and then she gives her imparting wisdom, which was fine, but overall it was all for naught.
Let's talk kills for a second.
Yeah, because they were a lot and they were fucking awesome.
Kills are great.
What's your guys' favorites?
I think that first kill was just so. That wasn't even the kill. It was just the fucking arm snap, and then he uses the splintered bone to stab the fucking guy in the jugular or whatever. Like it was like chef's kiss, like so unexpected. And I mean, it wasn't completely unexpected, but I don't know. It had the right tension. That first one, and then the bus in general is just such a tableau of insane gore. But I think the moment that was my favorite, that really drives home what's happening, is when the two sisters lock themselves in a bathroom and just the tide of blood comes in under the door. Like that lets you know there's a gushing going on outside, right? What about you guys?
Wow.
Ray, think. Anthony, what do you think?
Okay.
Two actually. It was the gal trying to jump out of the window on the bus when she gets.
Oh, I was gonna say that. I think that's probably my favorite.
And then you just see her innards fall out. It's CG, but it's like it dark enough to where who cares? It looks great.
Yeah.
And actually, the main investor guy who got sliced across the face, because it's well, to me, it went right back to Evil Dead. Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead, where the gal was slicing her cheek open. And it's just like, man, this guy knows how to use this gag, and it's effective, and it still looks fucking great. And it was a nasty practical effect, because when they showed it head on, it's fucking gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that obviously that bus scene is fantastic. The other good one obviously was the Texan guy, because you're not expecting that. You're expecting him to be the hero, and he's going to make it through to the end of the movie, and that's not what fucking happens.
But
I've said my piece. So Ray, go ahead.
I feel the girl crawling out of the bus window is my favorite of the bus. I gotta say, God, I love that last one at the very end.
Yeah, dude.
Because I was so prepared. I was like, he said, like, I should have known because he was setting it up. Like, oh, he's gonna reach into the sunroof, but he doesn't. He breaks the window. He pulls the sister out. The sister that we've been has kind of been the one that's been has kind of been the badass for most of the film. He puts her on her knees, and then while her sister's looking, he kind of waits. He waits for the sister to be looking. And he just there's the head, and then he starts dancing around, and I was like, "Oh, sadistic fucker!" That was so cruel. I was like, he did that on purpose. He waited until she saw, and then he was like, "Yeah," and then he started dancing, and I was like, "Oh my god, he is sadistic."
Oh.
That one, I really like.
I want to do parting thoughts, but I just want to say I thought Ricardo Diaz, director of photography, I thought the fucking camera work was so good. If it had not been the lighting and the set design, if they weren't what they were, I loved all the kind of, not exactly neon lighting, but very urban lighting in this small town. Like, I just thought it worked so well. It was a tone you would never think you'd apply to this franchise. And it just fucking worked. So I think I liked it 51% and disliked it 49%.
Ooh.
But the more I talk and think about it, there's just so much I liked about it. And I said going in, I don't need another Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, but I want another Fede Alvarez movie. So even though he didn't direct it, I'm happy. I really dug it. So closing thoughts?
Slaughter the woke.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, if you ever write a review for this movie, that's what you call it, Anthony.
Yeah.
Slaughter the woke.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm like 80-20. Yeah, I'm 80-20. There's some stuff in there that I'm like, it's trite and like, but there's quite a bit of it that I enjoyed. There's quite a bit of it that I was like, that was great. And it is beautiful. It's fucking great to look at. Like,
really good.
It's a weird, it's a weird thing when you're watching a slasher movie like this that is so gory that like looks so nice. Like, wow, you really put some care into the camera setup and the color tones. And I mean, oh my God, if it wasn't the whole like crash of the ambulance, if it wasn't a horror movie, like it's fucking beautiful shots.
Yeah.
Like, and especially where he's just standing there in the middle of all these like dried up sunflowers. It's weirdly beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, that's a beautiful shot. And then like the one thing that makes it horrific is him. And you're like, oh man, it's there's I don't know. It's maybe it's a treatise on Texas. Like it's a state that is oddly beautiful, but also incredibly dangerous. Maybe.
Well, I feel like there were scenes. I'm sorry. I know we're trying to wrap, but I want to say that like the scene with the bus and that lighting, that blue lighting in the rain, like that's the tone and texture of Blade Runner 2049, but it like applied to and like it just I don't know. The same thing with that like whatever that pit of water is that that last fight. That whole scene, I just was like, man, the set design and the light, it's just fucking gorgeous. Anyway, so overall, I mean, I definitely think if you're a diehard fan of the original and part 2, you might not like this. If you have Netflix, give it a fucking chance. It's free. You can turn it off. Just sit through the first kill and then turn it off. If you don't want to continue. If you like all the other ones, you'll probably find something here to like. And like I said, I've seen that remake with, is it Jessica Biel or whatever? Like, there's moments in that it's almost good, but it's just not. Like I just can't reconcile that third act where it just seems like she's just running through all this water and her shirt's getting wetter and wetter, and then she dramatically drives the blade through her fiance or whatever the fuck it is where he's hung up. It's just fucking awful. That one gag at the beginning with the hitchhiker where he blows his brains out is almost like one of the best things, and then they don't cut it at the right moment at the end when the bullet comes out the other side and you can see it's a dummy, and it goes from being this like, oh my God, oh really, like perfect 360 flip in the air on a skateboard, and you just land on your knees and slide down the ramp. So whatever, I don't know. Well, you guys want to go classic corner next? We're bringing this back.
Let's go classic corner.
The name of the film is called Eyes Without a Face.
Got no human race, your eyes without a face.
We're all gonna get sued.
Or Les Yeux Sans Visage.
Did you just say send more sandwiches? What?
Eyes Without a Face, we got a doctor who is a plastic surgeon, actually, and he's trying to graft a new face onto his daughter. And all hell breaks loose. It's a nasty introduction to what body horror was eventually became. It's gross, especially for its time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came out 1960.
Awesome. 1960. Mind, quick reminder, 1960, and you see, gruesome human experimentation. You're seeing people's obviously faces cut off, scalpels and whatnot. And it's all practical. That this is way before CG. The acting's pretty good. It's pretty damn good, actually. And I can't remember Homegirl's name, but it's she's in there from Suspiria and Inferno.
Yeah. Mrs.
I can't
Tanner
remember her
in
name.
Suspiria.
Yeah, she was also in Inferno. I think her name was like Carol the groundskeeper or something. I don't remember. But no, it's beautifully shot. It's gorgeous. It really is, and it's just this deep black and white that's been remastered quite well through Criterion. I think it's Criterion.
Yeah, Criterion. It's a Criterion.
Yeah, so the one that's streaming online right now on HBO Max, it's stunning. And if I'm not mistaken, it's been upscaled to 4K. It looks fucking fantastic for a film that old.
Yeah, it looks
dude,
excellent.
it's so fucking. The transfer is absolutely unfucking believable. It's gorgeous.
I mean, if you didn't know any better, this was a new film, and it's just that breathtaking. You're going through obviously the turmoil of this young gal who's been horrifically maimed. Well, not maimed, but disfigured from a car accident. And for a second there, they do show a practical of her face, and it's just a brief second they show it, and it's fucking gnarly, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's basically the gist of the film, and this is another one that I think was like an hour 20. So it's not difficult to get through. It's not difficult to get through, and it pushes along splendidly.
Yeah.
But please, guys, jump in. Let's talk about this movie.
Well, I first saw it like several years back because I was on a tear where, God, what was it? I think it was Netflix. Like one of the first times that very early, like probably like 20 years ago, I feel like. Maybe less than that. No, about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, something like that. There was this whole period where I got either Netflix or Vudu. Not Vudu. I'm sorry. Netflix. Hulu. I got Hulu. And the reason I kept Hulu as long as I did at that time was because I found out that they had a whole bunch of Criterion on there. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So I was just trying to tear through as much Criterion as I could. It's still a lifelong goal to try and catch as much things that Criterion has made into its own editions, but has been added to by like other companies like Arrow and Shout Factory, and I mean there's so much out there. But I remember the song from the 80s, of course, and then I remember sitting down to watch the film, and I didn't know anything about it going in, and I was like, wow, this movie's, it's a horror movie, but it's fucking beautiful. It's stunning to look at. The black and white is amazing. The acting is excellent. It's a drama, and it's interesting you say body horror. To me, I think the body horror fits very well. It also feels, I'm totally gonna blank on that director's name right now. If you guys know the film Talk to Her.
It's Pedro Almodovar.
Yeah, Almodovar. There's so much of this film that like I feel like influences who Almodovar is and what he does in films, especially later on, and some of his like movies that have like these kind of concepts and these kind of things in them that feels that like I feel like this is a big influence on him.
I can see that.
It's really good. It's such a macabre story set in set in this period where you don't think it's gonna, or even in this. I mean, it's Paris, and it's France. It's the kind of beautiful French countryside. You're not expecting this macabre story of a doctor trying to graft other beautiful girls' faces onto his daughter's face, and doing it by kidnapping these other girls and literally like stealing their faces. He's literally scarring them in the same way his daughter has been scarred. He literally has given up on his own concepts of medicine and what he originally probably got into medicine for, to correct this one mistake of his. And it's really tragic and interesting.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because so there's a point in the film where so the film starts and it's the assistant, which is the Alida Valle. I think I'm saying that correctly. That's she plays Mrs. Miss Tanner. Sorry, Miss Tanner in Argento's original Suspiria in '77. But and then like Anthony said, Inferno. I don't know who she played in Inferno, but anyway, she's his assistant and she's dumping a body, right? And so then you that kicks it off, and so you go into this thing, and he gets another girl. He removes her face. That's what Anthony was talking about, where it's a very graphic, practical effect, very well done, clinical, right? It's very clinical, but to me, sometimes a clinical gore is even worse because there's so much intention behind it, and like it's not an act of passion or madness. It's like very, and you can see it with him, like, towel my brow or whatever, wipe my brow. It's surgery to him, and when it works, so then I'm like, oh, so I didn't expect one to work so fast. Then you see later, it didn't really work, but it works for a while. And so they're having breakfast, and he's like, oh, you look so good. You can do anything you want now. You realize he hasn't thought at all about the fact that, like, she's like, yeah, but I can't, everybody thinks I'm dead. You can't, I can't, and you just see it on his face. He's like, oh, fuck. And she's like, what about my fiance? And he's like, oh, well, we'll wait until, he said, basically, like, paraphrase, like, we'll wait and tell him he loves you so much, he'll be okay with it. It's like, yeah, I don't that's a lot to ask from a potential son-in-law, but it is, it's fucking gorgeous. And here's a question. I don't feel like I knew why the dogs were there. Like, I kind of feel like there should have been because I guess, like, Kirsten's like, oh, well, there was the one scene where he was operating on the one and it looked like he was doing a skin graft, so maybe he was practicing. I didn't feel like they really did a good job of establishing that. So at the end, one of my gripes is just like, were the dogs just established to be there so that at the end we could have the horrific, climax of them attacking him as they're set loose?
I just thought he was just collecting all types of breeds, because not really any of them were the same. There were, large and small and all kinds of random dogs. I think he was just collecting different breeds. I don't remember him really mentioning any reason as to why. He's just something implied.
The daughter at some point, it's taking an emotional toll on her that she, like, doesn't want these things to keep happening. She's starting to realize what her father's doing. It's not working. And as much as it's like the moral problem of, like, what he's doing is tied up in him and his assistant, she's realizing, like, she's caught in that moral web as well. Which eventually leads us to our ending.
You like a steak, but you don't know what you don't want to know how it gets on your plate. It's a very similar thing. Like, you want a new face, but you don't want to know how you got it. Although, I mean, how else could you get it? I thought it was a great pick. I really enjoyed it, Anthony. And I'm glad that it's, again, I've been meaning to see it for a long time. And I'm glad that you gave me the impetus to see it, because sometimes the older stuff kind of gets perpetually pushed because, oh, something new coming out that I got to see, or, whatever. And it was good to just knuckle down and watch this. I will definitely watch this one again.
It's nice to do something cultured, from Texas Chainsaw Massacre to this,
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And it's just it's stunning photography.
I love the idea of the classic corner, and, like, maybe making it a normal part of the show, like, where we always recommend, like, or we watch something and we're like, yeah, there's this great, like, film you really should take a moment to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
in the history of horror.
The intention, since I think, Anthony, was your concept to do classic corner to begin with, but it's like it's gotten, for the listeners, it's gotten harder. So it's like, since we Zoom this now, like when we used to do it in my living room or your living room or whatever, we were going to watch the common movie, right? So, like, we would have watched Texas Chainsaw and then reacted to it, and then we would have had the homework of watching Eyes Without a Face. So it's hard sometimes to give multiple movies as homework because, I mean, it's just, there's not a lot of time, and then we get together like this, and so we can't watch it together, one of them together. So, but yeah, I definitely would like to do it again, and I thought that this was a great way to kick that back off. So, I don't want to. We have other things planned. I don't want to go too much longer because I think we're really clocking. But let's just get one more thing in, because I know Anthony had prepared something, and I read it as well. So if you want to do that, if you want to do something else, you can do something else. But so what is it, Anthony?
I recently read a ghost story called Infidel.
So this is by Pornsick Pizza Show. Pizza Show. Oh man, I even had the pronunciation assistance, and I still just fucked it up. But let's just call him Pornsick.
Yeah, Porn Sack it is.
Um,
Art by Aaron Campbell. Sean, what year did this come out in?
2018. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's the first printing of the trade that I have. Our friend Jesus gave to me. So I'm not sure when the original. I would imagine probably 2017, right, or early 2018. But so right around there, it came out. Image Comics, right?
Yeah, Image Comics. It's wonderfully written. The artwork's fantastic. It is a ghost story. Kind of goes into the embodiment, like, well, I'm not going to say physical, but more of like a manifestation of racism that it looms in this building that creates a hatred, and everybody kind of gets sucked into it little by little. It is a very disturbing story.
Yeah.
About a woman who is not all there mentally, who is now being plagued by something supernatural that's really pushing her over the edge. Get it? Pushed over the edge. That's something that happens in the book. But so anyway, there's several scenes of murder and mayhem. This thing is critically acclaimed from what I hear. But majority, so long story short, there was a quote unquote terrorist bombing in a building. And now a Middle Eastern family has moved into the building, and they're being, looked at as, well, looked down by many other people in the building. And they're just kind of like, here they come again. They're back to finish us off, that kind of mentality. And you just kind of see everybody's, well, you get to see how all these people who claim to be quote unquote woke, who are starting to show their true colors and kind of bring about more of what they dislike about society out in the forms of racism. And it ultimately, like I said, rears its ugly head as a ghost-like manifestation that just causes death and chaos. And it's pretty gruesome, what you end up seeing in the pages. It's a gnarly fucking story.
Yeah.
Glad I picked it up. Really glad to delve into this one. I again, it's one I'd never heard of. I've seen it on the shelves for quite a while now, and I think I ran into a shop, and it was one of those things where I was like, they didn't have what I was looking for, and I was like, I'll just grab this because I want to support the shop. And the guy at the shop owner actually over at I'm sorry, Nuclear Comics in Laguna Beach. Y'all head out there if you get a chance. They're fucking rad. He said, hey, that's a fantastic modern ghost story. You're gonna love it. And I was kind of put off by it. I was like, really, a ghost story? No, I was definitely enthralled by this one. Check it out if you get a chance. Sean?
Yeah, I first read it a couple of years ago when our friend Jesus gave me a copy of it, and I had heard of it, I think, but I didn't know anything about it. It's really so I've always kind of believed that things like, for instance, like Auschwitz, or like these really insanely heavy negative events or people, emotions, can stay and create like a stain in a place. And so that maybe is what ghosts are, or like ghostly activities. So this plays with that, where it's funny when, like, well, I don't want to spoil anything about this, but when you get to who the spirit is that's manifesting, it's not who you thought it was going to be at all. And Jeff Lemire, it's 5 issues collected in a beautiful trade, $16.99. Most shops will probably have it. And Jeff Lemire writes he
does the afterword.
Yes, yeah, he does the afterward, and he talks about how, like, horror, like a political comic, especially a political horror story, can be really heavy-handed, and this one's not all. He says it's just really well balanced. And one of the things I liked about it is, despite this very topical, very political, polarizing subject matter that they use to kind of steep the lore for it, it's really spreads it around and shows you how, like, this is showing you that racism and these kind of feelings and this thinking isn't just systemic, but you see how it propagates within people that are against it to begin with. And so I really like that. I like it very much humanizes the entire concept and plays with that and makes it really horrific. And dude, Aaron Campbell's art is so, every scene that has one of these manifestations in it is fucking terrifying. Kind of like, on a Most Horrible Library, we talked about Witches, the Scott Snyder Jock book. There's a definite comparison could be made between Jock's interpretation of the Witches and then how Aaron Campbell does this ghost. And it is so fucking creepy looking. And I don't know if you knew this, you probably did. This is being made into a film, and Pornsak, I'm gonna try it again. Pichetta Chote is the one directing it. So I was like, holy shit. And this was his first time he wrote. So he was an editor for years. Lemire talks about how he edited Sweet Tooth. I think he was one of the 4 editors on that book when he was doing it for Vertigo. So all these guys that did it, I think they were working in the comics industry, but had never actually done their own creator-owned book. And so this was, and it's a home run. Like you see, like The Witch or Hereditary, and you're like, or like Ex Machina with Alex Garland. You see these movies and you're like, this is your first fucking movie? Are you kidding me? It takes most people decades to get to this. I feel like that about Infidel. I feel like it's just, they stepped up to bat, first pitch, knocked it so far out of the fucking park, it's gone. And I would recommend it to everybody. I think it's a great ghost story. Read it with, minimal lighting by yourself, and it'll freak you the fuck out. It's creepy. It's just so creepy. Good pick.
Yeah, that's what I did. I literally sat in my living room with a lamp on, with 2 bulbs on, very dimly lit. House was empty.
Fuck yeah.
Sat down and said, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour and a half to get through this thing. Fuck, I couldn't put it down. It was an amazing read. One of the best buys that I've had as of recent. So please support the writers, support the artists. Definitely go buy this book. I mean, just to bone up so you have an idea what the film's going to be like.
Yeah,
but yeah, jump on it. It's great.
Ray, what do you got? Give me one thing you've read, seen, listened to, dreamt about.
I finished Sabrina.
Oh, what'd you think?
I liked it. It answered some problems from previous seasons. And I liked, there might be people that might hate the ending, but I love the fact that they decided to conclusively have an ending. Like, they didn't leave it hanging. It wasn't like, oh, Sabrina can come back 20 years from now. It's like, no, we're gonna end this. This is it. This is Sabrina. This is the tale, the twisted tales of Sabrina. This is all there is to it. And I was like, that's cool. Like, I appreciate when they do that with TV series. Makes me happy. And there was the ending I felt was balls. So I was like, good for you, man. That's fucking balls. Because you either are gonna sit there and be like, wow, good for you, or be like, what the fuck, and be pissed.
Yeah. I thought Melissa Joan Hart did a great job with that series finale. Why? What are you laughing at? Oh, you're talking about the news. I'm sorry.
The new Sabrina.
I thought you were talking about the other one. I'm so sorry.
The cute talking cat. I love it.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
Yeah, it's good. Dude, honestly, it's been so long since I saw it. I don't even
I know. It took me like a year for some odd reason.
No, that's fine.
I needed a break, I guess.
I'm just gonna go with something I read real quick. My cousin Charles kicked this over to me. So this guy, Adam Ellis. This is also from the department of being made into a movie, except this is so interesting. So Adam Ellis, it's at Adam Tots Comics. So ADAMTOTSCOMIX on Twitter. So apparently, I don't know how many years ago he did this story that he wrote on, and it's like a first person, it's like a no sleep kind of thing where he's like telling you like this is happening to him, and it's a narrative, and it's really engaging. Now, when I read it, my cousin had stumbled upon it. He's like, dude, you got to read this. I read the whole thing in like an hour. It floored me. and it's on the site Wakelet. So if you look for Adam Ellis Wakelet, or just type in Adam Ellis Dear David, that's the name of it. It was collected on Wakelet. I'm telling you, I've tried on my tablet, my phone, and now earlier my computer. I can't get to the end of the fucking story because the site keeps, like, at some point, it's such a long scroll. Like, you scroll for like a long time, and it just like it can't keep up or something, and it keeps cutting out. So I'm having trouble finishing it. I haven't looked deeper to see if there's another place you can get it. I know he's got a Patreon. I haven't looked at it yet. I would gladly contribute to that to read this and maybe the other stuff. I don't know anything else about him, but it's this guy that basically, he's like, I woke up last night and there's this, I have sleep paralysis sometimes. So I wake up, I'm paralyzed, and I see this little kid with a dented head is sitting in the chair at the foot of my bed, and it terrifies him. And then it goes from there, and it's like he keeps getting these experiences where it appears, and then like a friend of his like, oh, she knows about this. It's like a legend. She's like, yeah, you can ask him 2 questions and he'll answer. Just don't ask him 3 or I'll kill you. And of course, the fucking next time he sees him, what's he fucking do? He asks him 2 questions and then quickly follows the second question with the third. It's that genie in the bottle shit. Like, nope, sorry. But it's creepy as fuck, man. It's like it's like he brings this, and there's pictures and video too. So like I watched a video earlier where like he's got a like nanny cams and shit set up, and like there's a nanny cam in his living room, and while he's sleeping, it shows like one of his cats is, and this is real. Like the cat is, the story's not real, but this image is. It's like standing on its hind legs on his couch, just like looking around the room, and then it like kind of swats at something, and then just goes back to standing, and then like slowly gets down on all 4s and walks away. And it's like, it's such a weird image, and like he just uses all of this in the narrative and like things around him. It was really fascinating. It was a really good read. I just want to fucking finish it. You know, the movie is being done by people involved with The Conjuring, and I forget what else. So that's pretty cool. Like it seems like this is gonna blow him up, but yeah, it's a good read. I just you could maybe it will work better for somebody else. I don't know if my internet's spotty or something. So, okay, let's wrap it. I think, oh, wait, you guys want to do Crap Corner real quick? Okay, let's do Crap Corner real quick. Crap Corner. Anthony, this one's your idea as well. Give us a synopsis and give us a movie.
All right, here we go. It is a quick off the top of our head. You know, we all pick a film that is total fucking trash. Why it's trash. We're not spending a lot of time on it. We're just fucking saying, hey, this is a garbage movie. This is why it's garbage, and you're going to love it or hate it.
So I have theme music for this as well. Hold on. This is the theme song for Crap Corner. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Goldie.
So I think this one was in 2003. I'm not even going to fucking get into who directed it. I don't give a shit. It's Candyman 3. Candyman 3 is a gigantic piece of shit. You get to see Tony Todd in love scenes. The lead
that's what
chick,
you always
I think
wanted.
yeah, exactly. Like really passionate kissing and just, you know, erotic.
Oh,
faces.
this is the one Tommy Wiseau directed this, right? The guy that did The Room.
Yeah. Essentially. It's garbage. It's utter trash because you see, you know, it's early, you know, mythos being, you know, taking place in the deep South. Only this time it's in Los Angeles, which doesn't make any fucking sense at all. The lead chick runs around in a fucking wife beater with her tits hanging out with super hard nipples the entire time, which, you know, is great for a lot of folks. She can't act her way out of a fucking hat. I will say some of the gore in it's pretty good, but overall, this movie is a giant fucking stinker. Steer clear unless you really want to punish yourself. Vestron Video just put this thing out on Blu-ray. I bought it. I'm a fucking idiot, and you know, there you go.
Well done, Ray. Crap Corner.
Oh, you know what? There's a movie that hit Shudder along with another. I came to find out that there was there's 3 movies, and the reason they hit Shudder was because Shudder recently, not Shudder, Vinegar Syndrome recently got them and re-released them as a 3-pack, and one of them being this film, Beyond the Dream's Door. I can't remember the other three movies are all released about the same time. I tried to watch one of the other ones. It's complete crap. I watched all the way through Beyond Dream's Door. It's terrible. It's just garbage. It seems to be about this guy who's having bad dreams, and bad dreams manifesting themselves as coming out and actually hurting people. And one of it just seems to be an excuse to make a movie about dreams and the potential for dreams to hurt people and the mind. But it just ends up being about a guy who keeps having dreams about a fucking dinosaur, and the dinosaur gets out and eats people.
A dinosaur?
That's it. A dinosaur, man. It's a fucking dinosaur. It's like a big lizard. And you're like, why is a dinosaur following people around? Is this guy like, apparently if this guy had been around when Jurassic Park would have been made, the character, he would have been shitting bricks in the theater, just like, oh, big dinosaurs. As this, it doesn't make any sense. He's involved in some kind of sleep study, and them being in the, if you're gonna watch a movie like this, go watch Dreamscape, or what's that other one that came out this past year, Sean? Come True, or
Tammy and the T-Rex is a great example of like
Tammy and the T-Rex. Is
literally a producer that wanted a
dinosaur. That's a shit movie, but it's a good, entertaining shit movie. And this movie,
it's a great,
it's just a shit movie. It's just turd.
Tammy and the T-Rex is not a shit movie, but this, okay.
And I guess Vinegar Syndrome is committed to putting out as much old shit movies that were forgotten as they can, because I watched that one, and after I found out it was part of the package with the other two that are also released on Shudder about the same time, I was like, man, I gotta watch those. I know what I'm in for with those now. There's a reason why some things were forgotten, folks. There is a damn good reason.
Yeah, to quote Joe Bob, I agree with that. I will say Vinegar Syndrome has like stepped up their game, I believe, because they put out Censor. I did buy that Night of the Demon and the novelization. They're really, so that's that like lost Bigfoot movie where like Bigfoot rips some guy's dick off. I haven't opened it yet, but I had to buy the novelization because I just thought that was the craziest fucking thing that they hired somebody now to write a novelization for a movie that was filmed 40 years ago and hasn't been.
Oh wow, they got someone to write it now?
Yeah, and so I bought the novelization on Black Friday, on their Black Friday sale, and then I was like, well, I guess I should buy the fucking movie. So I bought the movie. I don't know, I watched like there's an epic cabin scene that's on YouTube, and I whatever, I don't know, I'm getting away. I'm just gonna do Crap Corner. I'm just gonna say Pledge Night. I was sick, not with COVID, in September, I think. I was home for like a week. I watched a ton of movies. This was one. I was like, watch a couple slashers from the 80s. They were great. I was like, oh, I'll continuing on. What's Pledge Night? Holy fuck. Anthrax does the music and Joey Belladonna is in the movie. Sign me up. 40 minutes later, I turned it off and I just went and listened to Spreading the Disease in my car and was way happier. So it was just, I couldn't even tell you why it was bad, but it was bad.
I'll second that. I'll tell you why it was bad, because I got an hour into it and I didn't know what the fucking movie was about.
It was so, also just, there's a weird thing with this frat.
It keeps changing what it wants to be about.
Yeah, and like, it gets into this thing where it's like, the frat stuff and the torture and all that's already weird, and like, you just start questioning it, but like they kind of play with that, but then they kind of don't. I don't know. It just, I just feel like, no disrespect to anybody involved. Hey, they can't all, who knows? Maybe on paper it would have been the best slasher ever.
You know what? 80s. I'm sorry, but it's no Sorority Party Massacre. At least Sorority Party Massacre.
Slumber Party
Massacre. It has
Massacre.
A pretty clear cut, huh?
You said Sorority Party Massacre, Slumber Party Massacre.
No, there's a Sorority Party Massacre movie.
Are you fucking serious?
No, yeah, I'm absolutely
it was remade
serious.
Also, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's a pretty clear cut movie. Like there's a initiation ritual. A girl dies during the initiation ritual, and a killer comes back who seemingly knows about them having accidentally killed this girl and is going to make them all pay. That's a better setup. It's 1,000 times better setup. It's so clear cut, like done. That's what the movie's about. Yeah. Whereas Pledge Night, I still don't know where it was going. I was like, you know what? It's only another 30 minutes, but fuck you. I'm not giving you another.
Yeah,
30
yeah,
minutes.
well said.
I gave you an hour.
Well said.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, if you're not going to lace your boots up until, you know, you've already walked the 5 miles to get home, why even bother putting them on in the first place? I don't think that metaphor made very much sense, but whatever. It sounded good in my head before I said it. Okay. On that note, I've actually, guys, I got a surprise for you. I've hired John Larroquette to come in and do the sign off for us.
Why
So
is he naked?
Look, John, I think he's having trouble with his mic. And I meant that both as a euphemism and like he's literally having trouble with his mic. Nobody can hear him. He's talking. Nobody can hear him. Okay.
He's got it clipped to his testicles.
Hey, it's how he operates. I don't know. Okay. So John, thanks for showing up anyway. I'll send you that $500, even though it didn't make it onto it. But anyway.
That's $500. That's the kind of level of investment Sean is willing to do for you people. God damn it!
I'm a Night Court fan, and I love John Larroquette because of Dan Fielding. Anyway, whatever. So, guys, we'll do this again soon. And in the meantime, I'm Sean.
I am Anthony.
And I'm Ray.
And we're the Horror Vision.
Fucking A.
Is it? Fucking A. Fucking A. There we go. There's
that.
Yeah, that's good.
A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20 soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive:
the world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure: murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadowplay Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.
There's something about that. Like, I think him and Guillermo del Toro should team up because they both seem to like annihilating people's faces.